Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Teens for Business podcast. I'm so glad you guys can join us today on today's episode. And I'm your host, Ivan.
I'm Jack.
I'm Kevin.
Today, we will be talking about the business side of car dealerships and its related pros and cons. Sadly, Jackie couldn't join us today because she is attending a DEA conference, and we hope that she will receive a good result there. And for some context about car dealerships, the reason why I want to talk about this today is the fact that car dealerships are actually mandated by law um, throughout the United States, but each state has their own laws regarding car dealerships, and now like Tesla has been recently on the news, and because they have recently been cutting prices on many of their models, and their stock and their earnings have also decreased recently. But what's different about Tesla is that they're specialized in electric cars. Um, that, however, they don't follow the traditional car dealership model, which is buying cars from manufacturers. The dealerships will buy cars from manufacturers, and then they will resell to customers after a price markup. And this is usually accompanied by like negotiating and constant back and forth, and then uh, basically buying a car in today's day and age is not like buying something online where you can just select all the features you need, and then just buy. No, it's like you go to a dealership with a model in mind, and then you're like, hey, this is how much money I have, and I want to get it for this much money. And they're like, no, actually, I want this much money. And then you go start negotiating. But um, this, especially during time of COVID, like last year, was a big problem because many car dealerships were marking up prices drastically because of supply shortage, and they can get away with that because just low supply and high demand, boom, high prices. Um, but it has reached at such a certain extent that in February of 2022, which is last year, more than last year, um, Ford and General Motors were saying that if car dealerships were marking prices up too high, especially for the very popular models, they would stop selling these offers to the dealerships. And this is a pretty new thing because dealerships and manufacturers need to work together to coexist and earn money. Um, so what is your guys' opinion on car dealerships? Do you think it is still worth it, as you know it's like these laws were basically 100 years old now, like mandating car dealerships, and or do you guys prefer direct transactions, which basically Tesla, Rivian, like all these electric car manufacturers are starting to do now?
I think from what I've seen, a lot of people like dislike the car buying process currently. So it's like I think right now it's a lot of like haggling, right? You go to the dealership and there's a price, but it's like it's the sticker price. It's not the price that you're actually going to be paying. And a lot of people just want to like have one set price. There's no haggling, just one price, you pay for it and you're done. But I think like psychologically, it's built into people's minds that when you're going to a car dealership, you're never gonna pay the price that they have on the sticker. So people, this can be time to adjust if like car dealerships want to switch to like a no haggling like sales method. But in terms of direct transactions, like Tesla and Rivian, that might be a better method just because they don't have to mark up any prices in that sense. Or in terms of like I was thinking of direct transactions in the way that like people buy cars, maybe used cars or new cars from other people. Like if you're selling on different websites like maybe Craigslist or something in terms of those transactions. But yeah, I think that right currently in terms of just buying cars from dealerships, it's like a lot of people dislike that whole process.
Me personally, I think that people are like more used to buying like cars from dealerships because like it's so popular, it's regulated by the government, and like A lot of people just do that to get the cars. But recently, like the more like the Tesla, like the other like more like I'd say a little bit like more advanced companies are like also like moving to like direct transaction. Me personally, I think I do prefer direct transaction so I can get the thing so I can get the car faster. I don't have to they don't if they don't mark up the price, that means I don't have to pay like as much money. And it's also like less time. It's more efficient because like we the customer can get the car like at like the time that they want it instead of like waiting a few days to complete all the paperwork, see if the car is like a good fit for you and like others business stuff that you have to like work with when you buy a car at a dealership.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both of your points. Because these laws, governments still kind of prefer car dealerships because they have more control over these dealerships. They have more regulations, and overall, they can. It seems like it gives this kind of facade that car manufacturers are don't have that much control. But actually, like even if they don't have that control, it's just making everyone's day significantly worse because the customer, even though you remove control from the manufacturers, the customers are also kind of taking taking kind of a punishment there simply because um actually my family bought a car before COVID, like right before COVID. Um and like I remember it was a week long process. Like one weekend we went to two dealerships and they sat down, talked it through, and I was just sitting there because I was young, and apparently they were negotiating, and like it went nowhere, and it went to another dealership and it also went nowhere, and then the next weekend they went to another dealership and it finally got a good price for a good car. And in my opinion, that's kind of not worth it anymore, especially in today's day and age. Maybe like in the 1980s, car dealerships might have been a good thing because you're spending a lot of money on a single piece of equipment. And back then, the internet didn't exist, and you can't just like take money out of your bank account that easily. So car dealerships back then probably would be more reasonable. But now in today's day and age, I was talking about a little economics, like bank accounts, your checking accounts, saving accounts, those things you can take money out of them really easily now. These accounts are very liquid, especially because everything's online banking, whatnot, and stuff. Buying cars and buying big houses, like before houses were even really not liquid. Now they're even more liquid for the same exact reasons. And I just simply don't believe that car dealerships are necessary in today's day and age. Like if you go on Tesla's website, you can choose whatever car you want instead of going to dealership and looking through all their models and like this has leather seats, but it doesn't have this thing. And this has this other thing, but it doesn't have this thing. But if it's online, then you can choose whatever features you want. You can choose how much money you want to spend. Maybe there's no negotiation going on, but I don't think that's a really bad thing. Like sometimes negotiating isn't something you really want to do, and especially when the manufacturers aren't marking up their prices that much, they're like literally selling to you at MSRP, as opposed to car dealerships which sell above the MSRP. So I just simply feel like it's completely unnecessary. But let's jump ship to Tesla. Since I already said before, Tesla has been suffering significantly recently. May or may not be the CEO's fault, but also it has definitely a big impact on their business, specifically for Tesla, and not ignoring like what Elon Musk is doing with his other companies like SpaceX and Twitter. So, what do you guys think? Is Tesla taking the right direction in doing direct transactions, or should it also just go back to the normal, which is car dealerships?
I personally think they are taking the right direction because like recently during like the COVID process, like going to like a car dealership was like made a lot harder and like there were increased like prevalence of like transaction. And like I think Tesla has recognized the trend that like direct transaction is indeed like quicker and like more people will go to direct transaction because the process of like buying a car is way less time consuming as it would at a car dealership. Like when my family and I last bought a car, like it took us quite a while to like a week to like find the perfect car, just like similar to your situation, Ivan. And I definitely think the process would be sped up if we got the car a, within like a button click and like yeah, and then like Tesla, like I think price cutting, they're trying to like make it more affordable. I think Tesla's in my experience in riding in my friend's Tesla's car, I do feel like Tesla cars are like a bit safer. So I definitely feel like price cutting, allowing like more sales of Tesla cars. And like I feel like Tesla could definitely become like more popular in the future if Tesla keeps like doing this like direct transaction and other things. So yeah, definitely believe that Tesla are taking the right direction.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think in the past 10 years there's been like a decrease in like dealership traffic, so more and more people are trying to avoid car dealerships. And I think that's for like good reason, because like oftentimes like maybe like don't want to go through the whole negotiation process with people at the dealership, and they would much rather just do a direct transaction. With Tesla, you can like personalize the car to everything you want instead of trying to go to multiple dealerships just to find a car that maybe you like some parts of, but you also dislike some parts of. Like everything on the Tesla website, you can like customize everything that you need that personally for your car. There's one set price. It's just the ease of the transaction is so much greater with these direct transactions than if you were to go try to find a dealership and buy a car that way.
Yeah, I think in today's day and age, convenience and consumer preference outweigh kind of the old old thing of like bartering negotiation. Like you can, if you go to like the street market, whatever, stuff like that, there's no there's no technology. That's where you find bargaining, you know. But now since we have technology, we have the internet, everything's so accessible. Now we can do so many more other things rather than negotiating for a price. And now the benefit from doing that, a significant decrease. So I think definitely, I also do think Tesla's probably taking the right direction here. But I also want to talk about Tesla is definitely, it's kind of a monopoly right now over the electric car market. But there are more companies coming out with hybrid vehicles, which are definitely financially and like government wise, that's definitely incentivized because the government is trying to transition towards zero emission cars. Um, so more and more car companies are going to look into electric car vehicles and towards that Tesla business model of just ditching the car dealership and directly selling to the consumers. But as I said before, the laws probably wouldn't allow that. And another kind of related aspect is service stations because Tesla, as you may know, has kind of this thing where if your car breaks down, then you call this Tesla number, and the Tesla employee will give you the parts you need. I'm not and like if you like your tire pops, I don't think Teslas have spare tires with them. So you have to like wait on the side of the road and call the number, and the Tesla would bring you another tire, loan you another tire or whatnot. So what do you guys think about this business model of service stations? Like, is this does it have a problem of monopoly, or are we going in the right directions? And you see there are some changes that they might make.
I think service stations are actually like a really good idea. I think that I don't know if any other companies are like adapting this model, but if in my opinion they probably should because it's a really good idea. And about Tesla like being a monopoly, I sure they have like a monopoly on like the electric car market, but as like more car companies are looking to do like electric vehicles or like hybrid vehicles, that like monopoly will like go away. So I don't really so it is like currently a little bit of a monopoly, but I don't think it is that like severe as like other examples of monopolies, such as like Ticketmaster that we talked about like last week.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I don't think Tesla in particular would be a monopoly. I know they're leading electric car like seller, but like there's gonna definitely other electric cars on the market. And it's not like they hold like I like when you think about a monopoly, you're kind of thinking about, like oil companies, maybe they like hold more like 80% of the market where every single thing you buy, when you think of that, you're going to that one company. I just don't think Tesla in terms of that is like a monopoly that we have to be like scared about.
Well, I was kind of thinking Tesla as a monopoly, as in on the vehicle itself. Like other car companies don't have service stations like Tesla. So if you want to change a tire, you would go to your local mechanic and change the tire there. But Tesla, I think I don't have a Tesla, but from what I've heard, they kind of require you to go through their service, and they have like literally taken out all the middleman. Like car dealerships are kind of like the middleman between the manufacturer and the customer. But by removing that car dealership thing, they have also removed other middlemen and have created a direct relationship between the manufacturer and the consumer. And in my opinion, there's kind of a problem with that. It's kind of like Apple and their Apple products. They can control this kind of system of repairing, making you buy something you probably don't need. There's a lot of problems that come with this kind of business model. So, in my opinion, I wouldn't say service stations are necessarily a good idea. So, how about you guys, as in that kind of mindset?
I'm not too sure because like service stations are like they're like efficient, but like if they're like operating like under like a monopoly, it's obviously like not a really good thing. And like I feel like also like I'd prefer having a company offer service stations over a company that like if your car breaks down, you have to go to your local mechanic and they'll fix it for you. Because sometimes like the mechanics could like take quite a while to fix things, right? But then like changing a tire is like I personally think I think trained mechanics like it's a fast process. But like if you're stuck on a highway and all of a sudden your car breaks down, how are you gonna get to like your local mechanic or something if you don't have like a spare tire? So like service stations, like if you were in that situation, like I feel like service stations can like give you like a really good benefit because they'll just come to you and then I think they come to you, right? I'm not too
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
about that.
They do. You call them and then they arrange like a tow truck or something for you.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely like more efficient. Like if you're stuck on a highway, that's definitely more efficient than going to like the local like mechanic in like that area. So I personally think that service stations are like in general are like a benefit, but in like the sense of a monopoly, it has to be like carefully monitored, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think you're saying like Tesla has a lot of service stations, but yeah, I think yeah. Service like I feel like they're definitely going to be beneficial for certain car companies, but the fact that if it's only one specific company that owns majority of these service stations and other car companies like can't use that, then yeah, I would see it as a monopoly because you're basically forcing people to choose the brand that's going to bring you the most convenience, right? And that's going to be Tesla. So yeah, that should be definitely like there should be regulations in terms of how much they can control and like how many like stations they can build because of other car companies that aren't able to use them as a service station.
Yeah, actually, like a few states, um, Tesla can't operate in a few certain states in the United States simply because their laws require a car dealership, and in California and in Texas, those laws don't exist. So Tesla can perfectly, operate, like have service stations directly sell to consumers. But in states like Alabama, they actually do ban service stations. Um, but as time go on, I can definitely see those laws being overturned or new laws being set in place. Um, because the picture would definitely change, especially with electric car vehicles not being the same as internal combustion vehicles, and also our new age in internet and online, basically online everything. So what do you think the future would be like? Will companies still stay on the car dealership model, or would they transition to a business model like what Tesla and Rivian are doing, especially with the focus on electric cars?
I think with the increased prevalence of technology, I could definitely see the future being more like direct transactions. So definitely will I think we will still see like a fair amount of car dealerships because they're like mandated from the government. They're like I guess like a little bit encouraged. And like people are recognizing that car dealerships definitely take more time than like direct transactions. So people have like changed their like I guess like car buying strategy to like look at any like companies that do look at do direct transactions just like save time and give them like the car. So I definitely think that some companies will switch to offer direct transactions, but I think car dealerships will still like be around, like because there's like a lot of like laws that still like mandate them, and some laws like encourage their existence. But like in the future, with like more direct transactions, there is a possibility that those car dealerships may like dwindle in like numbers, but they'll still be there.
Yeah, I definitely don't think car dealerships will go away completely just because it's kind of like the traditional way to go buy a car that's always been there, and people recognize this. It might be like it may be easier for some people just to go down to the car dealership, but I think more and more people are realizing, as like data has shown, that there may be a better way, a more convenient way, that like uses less time and can get you exactly what you want just through direct transactions. So I think like as time goes on, there's definitely going to be more and more people shifting away from going to car dealerships, but I definitely still think car dealerships are here to stay. I don't think they're going to be going anywhere. Just that more people are going to be realizing there's an alternate solution.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Um, because times are definitely changing, and especially with generation Gen Z coming around and becoming more involved in business and politics, I can definitely see changes, especially in this world of car dealerships and um or the other option of what Tesla is doing, which is cutting out the middleman entirely and forming a relationship with the customer, much like what other companies have been doing for a while. Um, but what are kind of our takeaways for today's episode? Because what I think I found out is that maybe car dealerships aren't really that worth it because of the effort we need as customers and consumers of the car product. We don't want to put this such effort into buying something. And with car dealerships, we kind of have to put that much effort, even if we don't want to, or else we'll get massively scammed over by purchasing something for way more money than it should be.
Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely think that like car dealerships, like I feel like in the future we'll definitely see them like dwindle, and like definitely direct transactions are like way more, I guess, like efficient. And as we like go towards like that goal of like doing zero emission like cars, like we'll definitely see like more like laws being like enforced to like go towards the um go towards zero emissions. And so like some companies will have to like switch their like I guess car making strategy to like see to like make like zero emission cars. Um, but so far, like based on that, I feel like Tesla as one of like the main like producers of zero emission cars, like we kind of discussed this earlier, but like currently like hold like a little bit of a monopoly in the electrical car like market and stuff. It's not too big of a monopoly, but it is a little bit of a monopoly because a lot of people are going there to like get their zero emission cars. So I think like I guess a little bit of my takeaway is that like not, I guess, uh, I don't think there's too much of a monopoly in terms of like Teslas being for like the zero emission like car markets in terms of like electric and hybrid car markets. And then we also, and another one of my takeaways is that like service stations, they're like a really good offering, and we could probably definitely see more service stations in the future. But definitely right now, Tesla holding a monopoly over service stations, this situation has to be carefully monitored before like it becomes like economically unfeasible.
Yeah, I think for me, a couple takeaways. I just think that yeah, car dealerships, though although they are like a decent way to buy a car, people are definitely trying a lot of people are kind of like frustrated with the current way of like the negotiations, the haggling, and then all of the like spending so much time just to find a car that you don't really like. And instead, companies like Tesla and Rivian may just be able to, you know, they have these direct transactions set up for you so you can buy a car with ease. I just think that times are definitely changing, and there's going to be more and more people realizing that and switching over. Yeah, in terms of service stations, I definitely think there's a future there, but yeah, just like Jack said, you know, right now Tesla has that monopoly for sure. So to see how it plays out, but I just definitely think there's a future for service stations.
Great. Definitely agree with those points. So that's it for our episodes on our opinions, especially on the pros and cons of car dealerships in today's world dominated by internet and online transactions. So thank you guys for tuning in to today's episode for the Teams for Business podcast, and we'll see you guys next week.